Especially thanks to the people that have been to my trainings before. It's really great to see you back. I mean, I know Lent is over and you don't have to sacrifice anymore, but nevertheless, I appreciate you being here a lot. This is a continuing series of me, the effective supervisor. And me means you and me. And so I appreciate you coming back. I do want to start off by thanking APEC and all their members for the support and guidance that helped make this performance review training possible. So thank you very much. It's great to have an openness to the training and for the support and the correction and the overall guidance is really terrific from an HR standpoint. So as usual, I'll start off with a very important administrative chore. There's one part of administering HR that's been a stumbling block for the HR department and most supervisors, because there's a lot of complexity involved with a leave of absence. And for the last 4, 5, 6 months, I don't think we just have ongoing stumbling blocks. So I brought this up today because administering a leave of absence is very complicated and a lot of information has to be collected up front, and that's exactly when the information is not likely known very well. Okay, so whoever wrote the laws that guide all these things weren't thinking like people who need to be disabled or need to be off. They just weren't thinking right. But nevertheless, this form is designed to help HR administer and have things go as smoothly as possible for a leave of absence. Now, as with every other day, you, the supervisors, are responsible for having your employees show up for work or be aware and authorize them not being away at work. So you're very much a part of this. This should ideally come through you and you approve it. I mean, you acknowledge that you have approved it along with the HR department. But we're going to be helping you with this because it's complicated. And there are probably about 438 laws that affect leaves of absence. And it's probably the number one contended dynamic in the workplace today in America, because it's just so complicated. You have so many different laws, and they were written without regard to the other law that guides and regulates any kind of leave of absence. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. We're not going to go over it by any means, but you can look through it, take it home and use it to wrap fish with, or a bathroom book substitute, something like that. Be great. All right, so you all have this handout. This is going to guide you through the slides today. You're welcome to take notes, of course. So this is, I mentioned, this is a continuation of the previous trainings that we've done. The first three were last fall. The first one being the big picture, why is supervision so complex? The little picture, the relational nature of supervision, conflict, skilled, and caring. And session 3, the daily picture, facilitated daily problem solving. So this is number 4, the performance review and goal setting. But let's do a quick review of what we're going to be doing today. These 8 bullet points are what we're going to be doing today. Again, I'll be using sort of a light version of a Socratic method of instruction where I ask you a lot of questions and you don't answer them, or you do answer them as you see fit. Thank you. So the first part, session 1, was why is everybody telling me what to do all the time as a supervisor? Why are there so many things? Why can't we just pay attention to what needs to be done and the rest of the world mind its own business? Well, I don't know all the philosophical reasons, but the political reasons are that supervision by design, is the funnel tool for social change. In other words, they use employment, the government has for a long time and continues to funnel all of its change that it wants in society through employment, and it penalizes the employer for not doing all this stuff. I mean, you can see this in the social change in America today. It's everywhere. Employee benefits, hours, pay, minimum wage, et cetera. It's everywhere. So I'm not criticizing this. I'm just saying this is the reason why everybody's telling you what to do as a supervisor. And the supervisor's role is by design, again, to be the pivotal point of where the organization, where the work occurs, where the organization and the people that do the work, where it meets. That is your role, and it's the most fundamental and the most important role on campus. The second part was the relational aspect of supervision, of being a supervisor that is conflict skilled, meaning that you're comfortable with conflict, you know what processes to follow, you've honed your skills in context of the conflicts that you would normally receive and be involved with as you're in your supervisory job. Now, there are a lot of tools that we used in that one particular session. There is no perfect you. Others are not perfect. Imperfection is perfection. We're starting to get into the philosophical parts here. Don't get upset, Jerry. Weaknesses can be strengths when disclosed and shared. So we often find ourselves going through life or even day to day covering up our weaknesses because we think people are going to be taking advantage of them. And sometimes they do. But that inhibits the relational nature of being a supervisor, of in between two humans. It inhibits the relationship. And then strengths, of course, can become weaknesses when overused without a mature self-awareness. Who was it that said the first product of self-awareness is humility? So if you find yourself getting upset or you're being insulted or something, go back to the what? The guillotine. What's that guillotine about? Anybody remember? I didn't think so. You didn't remember last time either. So it's about the need for respect from other people. If you have a need for human respect, and we do, it's a weakness in your supervision because you are tasked with getting over that, of being humble to the point where you foster the relationship and you foster the work and how it's done with your employees. I won't go too much into this. We talked about control theory, how we all control for input rather than output. We talked about how this relational nature of supervision is a conversion. It's a counter version to your own version. So you're asked to get out of yourself and into the minds and hearts of your employees and try to look at the work from their standpoint and not just yours. It's like the opposite of my way or the highway. We talked about the evolution of groups. We talked about the 3 steps to trust. We talked about the nature of influencing others versus instigating counter control. We talked a lot about crucial conversations in terms of what that is useful for. So all these together are tools that you have at your disposal and that you can continually refine and hone in your role. And it does take a lot of practice to bring out that relational nature of your supervision. That's pretty cool, huh? Only took me about 20 minutes to get it to blink more than once. So us old people can handle stuff. I'm really going to remember it now. Yeah. So this is the group development. This came out of the Massachusetts in the 50s. Out of the National Training League. It's one of the most famous and one of the most useful 4-step understandings of how a group evolves. And a group is from a group like this, if we started working together, it's your department, but it's also you and your employee, your direct report, individually as two people form this group. And it's going to form, and it's going to storm, and hopefully you'll get to the norming stage. But it's going to do this lots of times. Every time there's a change, a significant change in the environment, or if a new person comes into the office or out of the office or in your department and so forth, you have a new group, and there's going to be some re-storming and re-norming. I mean, you think about all the storms that I caused when I got here, and I'm still trying to work on the norming part, you know. Thank you, Kylie and Jackie, and many of you for helping me with that every day. But remember, the storming part is an emotional dimension to it. It's a sense of insufficient skills or respect, and it results in external control. You can see this in almost any relationship. Whereas the norming is you find certain structures. It's a structural solution where you learn how to structurally care for people and professionally, and you learn to problem solve together. So, for instance, a good example of this is any given search committee, where a committee comes together. They need to get on the same page. Sure, they form, and that's the easy part. Well, sometimes it is. We finally get them to form, meaning they come together and people are there. And then they always go through a storming stage like, well, what do you think? Well, I think this, and the more disparity there is in the departments and the programs, sometimes the harder it is for people to get to the part where they can decide what kind of dean they want, or what kind of employee they want, or what kind of director they want, whatever the vacancy is. But how they do this is an accelerated pace of storming and norming. And this is the processes that are encouraged in a search committee are designed to do this very thing. Same thing as that's what an interview is. It's a group that's somewhat ad hoc, but you're going to go through these stages or else you won't get to this position. You'll have somebody who's ever dominant or ever has the positional authority will be making the decision, and it won't be a group decision. You won't be able to enjoy what's called the collective wisdom. So this is really key to continue to learn how to norm. And then we also talked a lot about some aspects of learning about people and how they're different. You remember this foul ball picture? All these people were responding to this foul ball right here differently. And some of us could identify as like, whoa, that would be me, or that's like, that guy's wishful thinking, or whatever. But that was the basis for understanding our personality and our Thomas Kilmann results, how we respond to conflict or how we avoid conflict. These are all huge tools. This right here, if you're able to use this career motivation chart, it is a wealth of information for dealing with your direct reports. It's phenomenal. It's almost cool. And so what does that engender? What does that lead to? It leads to being able to sort of have glasses on that when you're supervising, you're coming in and saying, what is the relational nature of who I am with my direct reports? It's not coming in going, okay, gosh, let's take a look at this, that, check, and you haven't even looked at the person yet. You haven't even acknowledged who they are. They're human. And humans have a lot of emotional needs at work. And we're not here to suppress those. You're here to acknowledge those and enhance those. And what does that generate? That generates a sense of caring and respect. And that's what we remember. Remember we talked about best or characteristics of our best bosses, and we put those up there. Every single boss that you had in the past that you considered the best listened to you, was honest, and cared about who you were at work. It was irrelevant almost as to what you were doing, whether you were on a prison crew, right, Dave, or whether you were running a computer. All right. Those were the good old days. We knew who was boss. He had the shotgun. Finally, we got into some group decision making. What is this all about? This was session 3. And I think that was one of that training for me anyway, it was kind of the weakest because I probably talked too much, but we didn't get to any practical practice. And so, but learning how to, conflict skills is largely how to engage in frustrating and anger situations. How do you engage? Engage meaning engage the other people, gain their confidence, and engage a problem-solving procedure that will resolve problems rather than recycle them. Okay. So today, number 4, we go into goal setting and performance reviews. Questions so far? Anybody having nightmares of last fall? You're okay? All right. So why do we do reviews? Now, a lot of you have been here a long time and have done lots and lots of reviews, or you've been other places and done lots of reviews. Good. Some of you are inexperienced in doing reviews. That's fine too. What's the most fundamental, what's another word for a performance review? What's it designed to do? Anybody? If more than anything else, a performance review is designed to... Exactly. It's a dialogue between you and your direct report. And it's not you and your direct report or anything like this. You come together as equals because you're both responsible for the work being done. Yes, it's on their PD, but you're responsible for that PD and that person. So you share the work there. Very good. So why do reviews? It's a designated time for formal communication. You align the department's annual plan and the employee's work. You identify and understand resources, address strengths and development areas, and perhaps someday, if we want it, can be a basis for a merit compensation review. All right. Or in simpler terms, from perspective of the average employee, what am I supposed to be doing, and am I doing it right? People want to know this information. The hesitancy that you experience is normally not your concern about, oh, what's the employee going to say? You're reflecting your own anxiety about conducting performance reviews because most employees want to know the answers to these 2 questions. What am I supposed to be doing? In other words, am I contributing to the team? Am I being helpful? Am I being useful rather than a barrier? And how am I doing? Where can I improve? People naturally have this desire to contribute and contribute in a high quality fashion. And that's all you're doing. That's your whole role as a supervisor. So just for a moment, if you can find somebody to talk to and do 3 exercises today, that'd be great. Let's see. If there's an odd, I think we have an even number of people. No, we have an odd number of people. So there'll be 1 threesome in the room. But here, if you could just spend 5 minutes talking about your feelings here. Just 2 people, not 4. about 1 minute. All right, great. Thank you. This exercise was to help you a little bit of put in touch with what's going on inside you. Because if you tend to suppress that or let it dominate you, you're probably not going to be concentrating on what in the performance review? I should say who. The correct who, the employee. If you're coming in preoccupied with your concerns or worries, that'll disable you to some degree. Okay, great. So if you could recognize those and have a friend to help you address those concerns, that's really important. Friends are good. Oh, gosh, I had a timer in there and I forgot to put it on. I'm just too good for myself. All right, so we're now into the review process. What are the prereqs for a supervisor conducting a performance review? All right, so we have a heartbeat, we have a pen. No, well, we do probably, but first, to be knowledgeable about the employee's position, responsibility, and the actual quality and quantity of the employee's work during the whole review period. Now, think about this. If you're getting reviewed in your performance and you have a boss that doesn't have any idea what you're doing or what you've done or how well you've done it or how hard you've worked or how much you've goofed off, hopefully, how does that feel? It's like I'm an object. I'm not even a person who's appreciated. I don't even garner the attention of the person who's assigned to pay attention to me. Now, I understand that some of you have dozens of direct reports, and so this is a challenging dynamic. But I can assure you, it is extremely fundamental. Now, let's just say the world isn't perfect. So if you are not adequately familiar with the employee's work, then simply don't review the portions that you are not personally knowledgeable about. Is that okay?
I wouldn't think so, because it could be a big portion of what that person's doing.
Could be a big portion.
But you would do it with, potentially, you could do the performance review with somebody who does have knowledge about that piece. Have them provide their input into that portion of their job.
You could do that, especially if there are more than one supervisor involved or the person works in another area frequently and you don't see them or works in another building. Yes, that would be information you'd want to collect ahead of time and you would disclose to the person during the review. But what happens if you're trying to review somebody and you don't know what you're talking about? No, you're not a very good supervisor. You're not very relational then. You're just putting across a bunch of PhD and that wasn't very nice, was it? All right. And go in with a prerequisite of how relational is your relationship. In other words, are there adequate levels of professional working trust? What is the employee's sense of emotional control? And we'll talk about that in a moment. That's what this arrow's about. But what is this working trust I keep referring to? What's that about? Does it mean you're best buddies with the person? No. What's this working trust? Anybody want to describe it? Respect. Trust that they're doing your job and they trust you being a supervisor. It's great. Now, life isn't ideal all the time. My mom told me that. And so there are going to be times when trust is real high, and there are going to be other times when it's going to run over some rocks and take some bruises. That's okay. That's to be expected. Be skilled in recouping that trust. Take the initiative as a supervisor to reach out and extend yourself as a person into that relationship. Sensitive to the employee's sense of emotional control. The sense of emotional control is a gateway to being open, and that's what a performance review is about. It's about an open exchange of information. So what is this emotional control? So here's the sequence, and you'll remember this from relational supervision before. First, there's a sense of inclusion. And if there's anything that this campus overall has, it's an extremely high need and sense of inclusion. You try to do anything without disclosing what's going on or being transparent, what happens? Welcome to shared governance. Very good. And this is a good thing because so what is satisfying is this sense of inclusion. The next part, and a lot of that is it's like, just invite them to the party. Don't worry, they're not going to come, so you don't have to buy, snacks for 1,000 people. Just invite them. It's like a wedding thing. Don't worry about it. The next step, though, is a sense of emotional control. And in general, there's sort of 3 types of emotional vulnerability. There's fear, anger, and then being criticized or looking bad. And we all have one of these, and we usually have part of another one. Like, the classic sanguine has a fear of, remember, we talked about this in personality, a fear of what? I go around every day hoping that I'm accepted. Okay, the outgoing personality extends themselves and say, oh, hi, I'm all happy today. Hi, nice to see you, Tony. Yes, that's the case. And we're out for this emotional need, for a sense of emotional control, that we're being accepted, and so that we can be open. This is our little gateway into being open and trusting. I don't have a need to look good. You can tell my fashion sense here is really cool, but it's just because everything I own is on sale. And so if I happen to get a good color combo in the morning, it's because I turned the light on. All right? Do my socks match today? All right. So other people have a really high need to look good, and I want to be sensitive to that, but I have to know who they are. It isn't bad. It just happens to be who they are. Other people have a real need to stay in control emotionally, so I give them some wide berth and involve them in the decision-making a lot more than other people who say, oh, go ahead. Okay, so if you're aware of these human dynamics, it really helps you prevent and salve a loss of control, in order to avoid pushback and counter control. Now, every day is just full of thousands of these dynamics going on. Inclusion, emotional control, openness. Oh, if you had glasses that you're able to see them all, you'd probably go nuts. So it's not like, that's not the expectation. It's just an awareness of what's going on and not to take it personally. It's got nothing to do with you, probably. Where do so much of our deep-seated emotions come from? Well, yeah, I did have a really bad boss in 1984. There's still some open wounds there, okay? But for the most part, they come from our childhood, okay? So what was my childhood look like? Well, I was in the hospital 8 times before I was 12 years old. 6 of those were from trauma incidents from my older brother. Okay, so I have a certain sensitivity, a certain aversion, physical aversion to high control people. And that's what he was. He was a kinesthetic learner. Oh, let's see Chris go down the driveway in a wagon with no steering mechanism and see what happens. Okay. So, little sharing there. So what does this go to? As I mentioned, this is a stair step to a sense of openness and how you engender openness every day, physical proximity with your direct reports, communication about anything to begin with, but you want to migrate from the weather, which is pretty neutral. Yeah, it's almost spring. Okay. Who they are at work. Who they are at work. Because what do we focus on all the time? What? Very good. And this communication comes in, and you guys identified this, honesty, caring about who I am, and no punishment. If you find yourself with a need to punish, think about that. Where's that come from? What big brother did you might have had? You're still getting retaliation, trying to straighten the world out because of that. All right. Go talk to Mary Ann or somebody. The other Mary Ann. Very good. All right, now we're going to go into the practical aspects of the review process. Any comments so far? I guess, from an HR standpoint, is it okay to talk about these dimensions of supervision? Is it okay? I mean, it seems to fit the EOU values really well, which to me, coming to the campus was just great. It was really refreshing to find. I didn't know what I was going to find. Just because I'd never even been on campus before interviewing here. So, all right, good. So the review process, very simple 4 steps as far as mechanically. You prepare, the employee self-reviews and rates, the supervisor pre-reviews and rates. And this doesn't mean pre-review and kind of rate or pre-review and see how it goes to see what the employee's answer is no. You really put in a lot of think time, think effort, and rate people before you even meet with them. And the employee's doing the same thing. We'll go over the advantages of that in a moment. Then you share and discuss ratings. You establish a final rating. We'll talk about all this more. You document it, send it to HR. All right, let's take a look at this form. This is the form that's almost identical to the one you've been using for, I don't know how long we've been using this. You guys have been using this? A couple of years is all? Okay. Well, I think it's a pretty good form. The whole first page is designed to engender dialogue about the competencies that people, every person should have, every professional should have in this work, his or her work. The only thing there have been some minor changes from past. The supervisor comments about the rating. You're asked to comment on each and every rating that you make. This doesn't mean you're writing an encyclopedia. There are just 2 or 3 lines there. Maybe use half of that, 1.5 about, make a comment about, give it some flavor, not just a quantitative, add some qualitative dimension to your rating, each and every one. Go to the second page, there's a summary of points, which doesn't have any particular meaning right now. A couple questions there. Did you cover goals and objectives? Then you're asked to make supervisor comments overall, a summary. The employee makes comments, and they're actively asked to make comments there, and then you sign it. Questions on that? I think you're familiar with this form. Yes, ma'am.
Over time, conditions in this place shift and change. And while folks are doing the job that they may have been doing for 10 years, they're responding to those changes.
Correct.
To what extent does that then play out in these total point numbers? I mean, in terms of the ratings that are offered, where somebody maybe, if nothing changed, they would fairly quickly rise to, getting 5s all the time, maximum points, informing this consistently exceeds expectations. But all of a sudden, we have all kinds of crazy things going on in this place, and they're being challenged to do their job in completely new professional ways than what they had to do before.
Right.
That would presumably challenge them to perhaps receive a rating that ends up being, that's okay, because, hey, we've just, pulled the rug out from under you.
Well, if you back up and you say, change is not pulling the rug out from under people, it just is. And we all have these changes, and by golly, some changes affect the whole campus, and other ones just affect, your desk. And so if you don't equate the ratings with being evil and good, or bad and good, or changes, it means that you didn't get a 5 this time. If you're dealing with a direct report, or if you have a need for perfection, then that's something to be addressed. Perfection is a weakness at work. And I'm saying that in a sense of needing to be perfectionist. It's like any other strength. Being perfectionist is a strength. We love people who do accurate work, who are into the details. By golly, I love it. But if it becomes obsessive, where being perfect is more important than doing high quality work, that becomes a weakness. Where is that a weakness?
Sometimes perfection can get in the way of completion.
Correct. We don't need it perfect every time. Or if you're concerned about getting a perfect score every time, where is the focus? It's on you being viewed as a perfectionist versus high quality work that's in context of the assignment and what's going on. So some years, we're just not going to get a 5 in anything. It was just a hairy year, and it's not going to happen. All right, good question. So I would say take those in full consideration of the circumstances and your involvement with the employee's performance. How well did you and the employee work together? Did you inhibit their performance, or were you a facilitative resource? Now there is one little slip in here, slip meaning I slipped it in. It says right at the top, is PD up to date? Is PD is up to date. Well,
Yes, it is.
you can tell I came from Atlanta. That's a compliment. I'll correct that. Very good. So that's just about, a PD is important. It really is a foundation, cornerstone for keeping us aligned and not being thrown around by circumstances too much. So they are important. They're a complete bane to life. Imagine having a job of just updating PDs. Let's go buy the pistol right now. That would be torture, Maybe somebody would like it.
So
Won't go there.
is this going to be the form we now use for
Yeah.
classified staff? Or
No,
is this
just-
gonna be
Just admin professionals.
Okay.
So,
Very
and then I just have a comment then on that, because I've been fulfilling the role of a vacant supervisor position in my department for some time. So I've just done a number of classified staff performance evaluations. This form is so much better than the classified staff form.
All right, well, let's work that in somehow. Maybe we can, I don't know, do we have to, let's address that later. Yes?
Can I just stress the importance of the position description? Because to do a true evaluation, the position description is not accurate. You cannot complete an effective evaluation.
Yeah, your basis for the goals and objectives is questionable.
And that's why it's at the top, so get that resolved
Right.
for the following year.
Good.
You're evaluating the position description.
Good.
Comment about that. Has there been a conversation about how detailed a position description needs to be versus not as detailed or having more room to move within a position description?
Yes.
I'm getting kind of conflicting.
Yes. Most of the PDs I see are way over detailed.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not out to identify the specific software and year version of what they do. It's software applications, and if there are particular ones, you might say publication or word processing or more generic terms. So as you rewrite these, feel free to make them with a little more room than, yeah, I'd rather err in that side than err in over detailing, because as you might imagine, after a couple months, you already have a semi-obsolete PD because something changed, something minor in the job. Great question. All right, now yes,
If you're rewriting SEIU PDs,
no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to talk about SEIU PDs right now.
okay.
Okay, this is just admin professional.
Well,
All
I
right.
find the tough one for us is 30%, 10%, right? I got laughed at one time because I turned in 130%. But I had a duty added to my job, legal welcome, and right? So the whole, I'm sorry, joke to me is how do I determine how much percent I spend on this versus this versus this? Because every day, every month, every minute, it's different.
Yeah, that's designed, a PD is designed, those percentages are designed on an annual basis. And they don't have to be perfect or super precise. They're just to give an idea, a pretty good idea, but an idea of what the person does, how much.
Well, and I think that as other duties as assigned should be way bigger than,
Yeah, some,
Like 75%?
well, no, but you know, at times.
do it. But if other duties are assigned have that much of a proportion, then you would want to start identifying what those are. Yeah.
And when I was a few years ago reviewing my own PD, I went back to my calendar for accuracy. I went back to my calendar to see what was I doing, what was I working on, and then for the percentages and stuff, I didn't base it on a 40-hour work week. I based it on all the time I spent working. So that's how you keep it statistically percent, because clearly you put in more hours,
Right.
you know.
Okay, good. Now, we'll be talking about goals and objectives, but actually the first page you pay attention to in the review is the goals and objective page. And we'll get to those in the training, so I just wanted to bring that up. And we're not going to go into detail into that right now. All right, it'll be in about a few minutes. Okay, preparing. Employee self-reviews and rates, supervisor previews, pre-reviews and rates. This is, and you might get your check sheet. Do you have a little prep form? If you want to refer to that and add things to it as we go along, feel free. But you want to give advance notice of when review is scheduled. Let employees know what to expect. Ask employee to conduct a self-review using a copy of the performance review form. They should already have that. And be ready to discuss the reasons supporting the ratings and the development goals for the upcoming year. So this requires your administrative professional direct report to do some thinking and preparation. What do you do if you get into a performance review scheduled and the person hasn't done either of that? Well, I mean, I was talking for purposes of that review. It's either done or not. And if they don't do the preview, then reschedule the review. But do ask, what can I do or what can be done to help you get this done? Very good. It's important. Ask if he or she has any questions about how to conduct a self-review. Arrange a neutral, quiet location Avoid your territory, like your office. Why is this important? Power difference. It just accentuates that when you want to get a dialogue going. Very good. And allow adequate time. 1 to 2 hours. Ugh, I don't have time for this. Yes, you do. This is your primary job as a person who directs the work of other people, directs other people. This is the difference between you and other people on campus that don't have the responsibility to direct people's work. Is 1 to 2 hours okay? Okay, good. Continuing with the prepare, the value to supervisors, to you personally, of self-reviews, of when the employee does self-reviews. You discover what's important to them. You view their work and challenges from their perspective. You might get some new ideas. You find out what their areas of interest and achievement are, what they think areas of improvement are, and you allow employees time to focus on their successes. If nothing else, communicate their successes. I mean, not only thing, I shouldn't say if nothing else. Make sure you communicate the successes that that person has had. And if that's hard to do, then think about it longer and find some successes. Everybody's successful in some fashion. They don't have to knock it out of the ballpark for you to bring it up. You're not going to spoil them, don't worry. Still on the preparing, the pre-review by the supervisor. Note that the time and effort you put into writing goals and objectives, the quality that you put in there, really make for high quality reviews. So if you describe the goals and objective clearly, you have a time frame and you have the measure of success identified. Probably the most critical square on that page. It's really, really helpful in the performance review. Score ratings on actual achievement of goals. Judge performance, not personality, that's not new. Avoid using factors not permitted in employment matters, of course. There's a remarkable respect for this here, and I almost hate to bring it up. Be fair and consistent. Rate one section at a time. Questions? What's number 3 mean? Okay, certainly keep your personal biases out of there, the unfair ones. We want your judgment involved. That's why you're required to provide is your judgment and assessment of their performance. And what about ratings? How do you know what ratings you're going to do? Is a 2 that Tony gives equal to a 2 that Dave gives? I don't know. But it's important that you be consistent and fair in your scoring. Right now, there are no consequences to these scores in terms of turning into a percentage of a pay increase or something like that. So there's no need to ensure that we're all, really strict in saying, okay, a 3 absolutely means this and so forth. If we get to a portion of time when we go into merit reviews, we'll get to that. Very good. If you find yourself giving similar ratings for all of the sections, this could mean there are barriers to good judgment. Are there personality differences that you don't want to address? Are there attitudes you're trying to avoid or just hide or pretend they don't exist? Do you have a perception of a perfect employee? Oh, nobody in my department gets a 5, ever. Okay. Well, that means you're a crappy supervisor. If nobody can be outstanding, then you have a department of mediocre people. Allow people to reach the outstanding level. That's your work, is to get them there. First impression, are you being over influenced by a first impression versus a thoughtful reflection on their actual performance? Are you, a real tough one is, are you recalling only recent events? So as you go through the year, you might want to keep some notes on people's performance. Did really well here. Messed up for the second time here, may need some development. This type thing. And those notes are just gold at performance review time.
Otherwise, you're only reviewing last week.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything past a couple of weeks. Avoid underperforming area. Are you avoiding these because you're trying to be nice? Or you're afraid that you're going to upset them? Or you just don't want to address it because you really are a nice person and you value their harmony and their cooperation more than the truth, the complete truth? No, these are your problems. People want to know how well they're doing. Don't fib. Be complete. And if you find in yourself this, then it's your problem. Get some help with this. Go find somebody who knows how to be honest and direct and say, how do you do it? I have all these feelings inside, like, what do I do? Trust the truth. Judging factors unrelated to objectives. There are all kinds of, things that can involve that you're worried about other than what's on their PD. And misunderstanding how to rate. Okay, we've talked about a little bit of that already. Here are a few tips, a couple slides worth of tips. Encourage and allow participation. The review is a dialogue. Be candid and specific. Clarity is caring. What's that mean?
Providing a clear description of what you're trying to tell someone or describe to them so that they can truly understand if there's an issue or it's a positive.
Great. And that is not a natural skill. That takes practice. So if you're concerned about being able to do that with employees, find somebody, the person you're working with today, and say, hey, I want to practice this. Here's the situation. I need to practice this. And your first couple of times, you're going to be going, okay, and this other person's going to go, okay, what are you feeling? Let's deal with that feeling, Call up Colleen. She's good at feelings, I think. Yeah, good. Compare performance to the measures of the goals. That's real important. Start making up, well, you didn't do this. Well, that's not how we're measuring that. That's why quality written goals and objectives are really important. Focus on what was, not could have been. Oh, well, you could have been this, so I'm giving you a 1 or a 2. No, what did actually they do under the circumstances? Okay. And use all of your active listening skills. You've done active listening training. It's probably, it's everywhere. So it's a good thing to practice all the time. The paraphrasing, the listening, the confirming, understanding, actually paying attention. Good. A few more tips. Consider circumstances. This is your question, Regina. Consider circumstances and your own actions that affected the employee's performance. Maybe you're a chronic procrastinator yourself and you don't get the information to people when they need it. And then you peg them for not being on time. You hypocritical, no, all right. Or maybe more common is this, the circumstances changed. I don't think I've ever conducted a review where the goals and objectives have been established beforehand, where we didn't go in and say, I'm taking half of this one out. That just didn't develop. This project never got approved. Or if it did, somebody over in Cass screwed it up so we couldn't do our job. I meant Kobe. All right. Don't make promises you can't keep or cut deals. What's this mean? Yeah, the review is not a bargaining session. Like, okay, well, I'll give you a 4 if you promise to do better and come to work on time. Oh, no, 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 no. Strive for agreement, 100% sincerity, establish the final rating. What happens if you have a discrepancy between what the employee thinks and you think? Now, if yours is higher, they usually don't argue. But if yours is lower than what theirs is, what do you do about that? You just say, tough, I'm the boss. Go pound dirt. And what?
Document, I mean, have a conversation about it, and if there's still a disagreement, you can document that there's a disagreement.
It's okay if there's a disagreement.
Yeah.
We strive for agreement.
It should be a collaboration.
It should be. I mean, you're discussing this thing, and you can just agree to disagree, and they just put in there, the employee says, I think my score in this section should be this. That's fine. There's no, Geneva Council that says we have to agree on every score. Again, there are no consequences to these scores per se. It's just to help us raise the awareness and tone of the meeting and get some sort of quantitative handle around this. Good.
Or maybe when you get done reviewing that section, you say, you know what, you're right, I did miss a few things, and
Yeah,
we move that from a 3 to a 4.
right. There should be some movement from your pre-rating to the end. Otherwise, you think you're know-it-all going in, and by the time the thing is, you haven't gained any additional knowledge. Yes.
As you're going through this process, ideally, it shouldn't even, there shouldn't be anything new that you and the employee haven't at some level addressed over the year. Because if you just wait and do it all at one time, you're not really being that effective in managing staff during the whole rest of the year.
Ideally, I completely agree with you. But as the year progresses, typically what happens is that you intend to get to a certain discussion, and you just forget about it, and pretty soon it's 2 months later and there's no reason to revisit it right then. It's kind of awkward, perhaps. That would be one dynamic that happens all the time. I mean, just going back over your timesheet every month, you're saying, oh gosh, I forgot we did that. I should make a note and say thank you or something. The second one is that some people wait until a formal performance review is happening to bring up information. To them, it's a formal invitation. This is when they're supposed to be doing it. The casual day-to-day or the informal week-to-week back and forth is not enough for them. It doesn't have enough formality. So sometimes, I would say regularly, information comes forth in the performance review that is new to you, the supervisor, and vice versa. It may be new to the employee, where you thought they understand their contribution or their involvement in a particular dimension of their work when they said, oh no, I didn't realize that at all. Thanks for telling me. Good. I do try to end each section review on a positive note. We're not here to drill in negativity. All right. This facilitating agreement is an important dimension that requires some skill development. And there are 4 little tips here that you can use in the review discussion. So the first one is called legitimize. That means accept the objection and concerns of the other person. If the other person expresses something, don't argue with them. Just go, okay, let me make sure I understand you. You're saying this. And they're going, yes. And if they carry it on and they keep pounding on it, then you go to number 2. Okay, hold on. I need to address the performance right now. This is inhibiting communication. I don't feel this is healthy or respectful. So that's your role as keeping these performance reviews civil. Now, these are infrequent, but they happen sometimes, especially under tough conditions. and where the people don't feel appreciated or they don't, yeah, there's just some bad memories there. Of course, remain positive and calm. That's what supervisor means in Latin. And address inconsistent performance. A lot of times, people have selective memory about their involvement and their work quality. And you will have this too, so this is the reason for the dialogue. But just remember that you don't remember everything. So be open to inconsistent performance, meaning they say, oh, I did this and this and this, and you say, yes, that's true, but you also forgot about this or did this and you missed this deadline, so forth and so on. You do it respectfully, of course. Yes?
So what do you do if you have somebody who during a performance review uses that time to complain about their colleagues as ways, you know, and the conversation becomes focused on how they've been wronged by their colleagues or by other people and not on them, their performance reports?
Well, that seems okay to me. I mean, the what, Jeff?
Each score by half a point.
So I would encourage them, say, I hear what you're saying, but I'd like to, this performance evaluation is about you right now, and let's get through this, and then maybe we can have a separate conversation
A separate conversation, what do you mean?
about the concerns that they have.
What's the dynamic here? Maybe that would work, but when somebody's like this and I having a performance review, this is a golden opportunity to communicate and have a dialogue about this dimension, because this is hard to do on any given day. So what's the dynamic of somebody saying, well, it's Dave's fault, facilities does this, and Leanne and payroll, the whole payroll department's terrible, and both colleges, they don't know what they're doing, okay? How did I think of all that? Yeah, all right. What do you do with a person who blames the world? Regina.
Well, I think you have to give them an opportunity to speak to that, because those may be some real factors that they believe are inhibiting their performance, so that you allow them
Okay.
to speak to their frustrations. Because without knowing what their frustrations are, you can't really help them find a way toward more productive behavior.
Great. And then what?
Well, so address the anger, the strong emotions.
Yeah. And then what?
Ask them how you can assist with finding ways forward,
Ways forward in terms of
some productive redress.
gaining a better sense of control, that they're in control. You want to address that dimension directly. Oh my gosh, well, this isn't good. Your whole world, you have a lot of control, I think. Let's talk about this. Well, no, I can't do it this. Okay, what are the alternatives? And it may spill over into a longer conversation, but that is a golden opportunity to address that type of behavior. And it's extremely important to do that. Otherwise, you have a what?
Well, they're going to stay disgruntled.
Right, they're going to have
They'll take it elsewhere.
you have a miserable,
Probably spread it around to other people.
you have a miserable person, you know,
And perhaps ineffective.
perhaps. You know, there are 4 or 5 ingredients to being an unhappy person. One is to wait for the world to make you happy, you know. It's just like, wow, I got over that when I was 15 and a half, hopefully. All right, good, great question. Focus on performance measures, we already mentioned that. Ask questions about the objectives and when resistance is detected. Is your work attractive to you? Are we understanding the goals similarly? What is your commitment level on this? So rather than telling them, you should have more commitment to this, Beanie. You should understand your goals better and objectives. You know, you should learn to like your job better. No, ask these questions and then help them deal with the dimensions of this. Well, is there anything I can do to help with this? Do you see this as a problem? No, I hate this work. I'm only here for another year till I win the lottery. Okay, these are huge insights you can gain. Whenever yeah, I won't go there. Okay, very good. Lastly, performance reviews are never, ever disciplinary meetings. Unless, you can stop one if they get out of control. You can terminate the performance review meeting, but it's not to be a disciplinary meeting. That's another meeting. Okay, so don't be saving up all your problems and your objections and, oh, by the way, here's a one and a written warning too. No, 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 no. All right. Okay, what kind of questions come up from employees? What about the scores of the other employees? What do you say to that one? Go ask them. I'm not going to disclose it. Just like I'm not going to be disclosing your scores to other people. Did both supervisors from last year review me? In other words, this is common, as I mentioned, where, like in Lacey's situation, where she's got a whole division of people that she doesn't know how well their work was. She wasn't here. So what she has to do a lot of preparation work and go back and talk to Colleen and other people who are involved in that in order to give at least some semblance of a review. You'll often hear from employees, well, remember when I did this? Remember when I did that? And your response is, I don't know what you're talking about. No. Yes, I do remember that. Or no, remind me of what that was about. Okay, well, I remember this part. And it was just saying, oh, well, you all you remember the bad parts. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Do you really think I do that? I want to improve. So if they accuse you, don't have this be subject to the guillotine. Your role is to be humble. I don't agree with your rating. We talked about that. This is a great question. How do I get a consistently exceeds expectations rating? That is a golden question. If your people ask that, you got to be ready and say, oh, great, let's move forward with this. This is how you can ring the bell. Okay, that's a great question. And if you say, oh, well, I'll think about it, or, well, we'll see how this next year goes, we'll see if you do better. No, that's not the answer. You should have this on the tip of your tongue. Lastly, some mechanical things. Document the ratings, make comments, and then send all this stuff to HR. Sign the review, make a copy for the employee if they want it. Send the original to HR. All right, this is the goals and objectives section. There've been a couple of changes to this section. It's on the handout of the performance review. It's the third page of the performance review. So let's review the 4 arrows at the top. Goals and objectives should reflect both position responsibilities and the personal and professional development goals. Why are both of those important? Aren't they just here to do their work, do it well, conscientiously, on time, and then get out of here so I can go home?
That'd be a consistent 3.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Why is the personal and professional development goals important?
Because if they're developing that and they're happy, they're going to be more productive, they're going to do more effective work. So it
Right.
helps them.
It helps them, and is the organization interested in who they are and what they want to achieve? Is EOU interested in that as a public higher education institution? Yeah, might be some value in that here. Might be a little consistency there. And I assure you, I've worked for people where that was excluded. You're lucky if you were given instructions on what to do. Okay, so this is a really high-class value, and it's integrated into goals and objectives. The time frame indicates when the goals should be accomplished. That's kind of obvious. But the measures of evaluation indicate the units, how goal accomplishment is measured. Goal measures are to be realistic. I've heard a number of places where, like Chris was saying, oh, I come in and, you know, this morning this dump truck backed into my office and unloaded, you know, another 9 yards of 30% PD work here. What do I do with that? Okay, those goals are not going to be on here. In other words, we take that into consideration. Maybe we have no control over that right now because of cutbacks or whatever, or somebody quit unexpectedly or something like this. Okay, but let's not kill her or maim her or anything else. Take this into consideration as a supervisor. This is a call for you to join in and share the load as well. It's not like, oh, okay, well, good luck. Let me know when you're done. Maybe you can get home by Sunday night. Okay? So the goal measures here are critical to be realistic. Now, you can say, well, what if I'm getting flack from my boss about stuff not getting done? What do you do then? You know, your department's got all this stuff done. You know it's too much for your department to be able to produce this. You're being realistic with your staff, but your boss is going, hey, what's going on down there? There are problems. I'm not getting this report. I assigned this to you, you know, Monday. It's not done. What do? You pass this on to your employees? Yeah, you got to have a one-on-one with your supervisor. What happens if they're unreasonable? In your opinion. I mean, bosses are kind of unreasonable, I understand that. Yeah, you can try to compromise and get to some point of agreement. Very good. What if you can't get there? You may be, but you probably already are. Like that's not really the issue. The issue is it's just not reasonable. What do? Has this existed here? Yeah, it has. You go to the next level. You can come to HR for counsel. I won't do any good, but you can come anyway. No, I'm kidding. Often we can sometimes, you know, repeat what you've already tried. But it really extend yourself and really look for that, an opportunity to have a dialogue and address this. And sometimes you just may run out of road. Maybe it's just like, tough. I'm not going to think about this another. I got other bigger fish to fry. Okay. But keep working on it. What?
I think that as administrative professionals, if we're struggling with that aspect, then we could also visit with the administrative professionals, executive committee. Is that what it is, Is that their role as well? Does that help?
A grievance role, you mean? Or just a advice type role? Yeah, advice type role, certainly. I mean, you can do that with anybody that you have some confidence in. Certainly, because other people are going to have strengths in areas that you don't, and this may be not a strength area for you. Regina.
It seems to me that when you find yourself in a place where you're overwhelmed with requests coming at you from all sides, and if you can't find the common ground for, okay, so
Uh-huh.
compromise here, you'd be in a situation where you have to prioritize what comes first, and then document that you did that, so that when you're up for review and your supervisor says, what about these things you didn't do? You simply lay it out and say, well, here's how I responded to this situation.
Right.
And I documented how I went through that process.
Two additional things. One is, in the meantime, find some friends. You know, That's what life is for, friends, and friends help each other. And so whether, it's a dump truck full or just, an extra pan full of stuff, if it's stressful, don't stuff it and eat it, share it. Share your problems. Secondly, if it starts to border on where it's jeopardizing your employment in some fashion, that's when you have the options to kick in and make a complaint, a formal complaint. Don't hesitate to do this. Do we complain if one of your direct reports, if we hear about a formal complaint about something and there's some substance to it, do we look bad on that employee or look down on that employee? No. Same with my opinion of SEIU. If SEIU wants to file a grievance, great. That's what the avenue is there for. That's what's supposed to happen. It's not bad. Now, we don't go around provoking them. It's not like we're trying to wring as many grievances as possible. No, there's no use in that. Our role is not to aggravate people. But it's like, hey, there's a grievance. Okay, there's just means the communication didn't happen and the problem solving, and we need some more formal norming over this situation. Great. So, if it does get on that precipice, come see me or come see people you trust and get some good advice on what to do. But with any employee in this university, you have avenues to complain and formally, and don't hesitate to do that. All right, just because you're AP doesn't mean you can't use these avenues. Not at all. All right. And then the outcome, we did add this column over here called outcome, and this is used solely to support the ratings on the first page in the competencies area. So they're, in and of themselves, they're designed to be a sort of a foundation for adding a lot of information to help the ratings on the first page. Yes?
I have a question then. I think I've always taken the goals and objectives as something for the future.
Yes.
So if we're establishing goals and objectives and a time frame and how to measure them, how can we score an outcome that hasn't happened yet?
Well, you would score the previous year's goals because you have previous goals you have goals from the previous, at the beginning of the review period. Correct? Is that an assumption?
On last year's evaluation?
Yeah, so
But
this,
these are next year's. These are
no,
goals for upcoming.
the goals that you start with are the goals that you designed in the last review period.
Oh.
So you're going to have new goals every review period. Now, I just as soon put this on the front page, like this, and say, okay, let's review these. How well you did on the goals and objectives. Then we'll review this.
Okay.
And then we make a new one here. Okay, so that's how that works. That's the sequence. Now, one thing here on these goal setting, in addition to well-written goals, sometimes you can over-focus on current projects, like the annual plan. It's a little bit heavy on this is what we need to do this year, and we have this big project going, and we have this software transformation and so forth. Make sure that the goals and objectives have the fundamental responsibilities of the person's job. It's not just a list of special projects for the year. Okay? So make sure, like yours should have, ensures the performance and development of all the direct reports under his authority, his or her authority. That should be a goal and objective of your performance review. And how are you going to measure that? How do you measure whether you're a good supervisor or not? Yeah. Are you productive as a team? Is there a high level of enthusiasm? Where's the commitment? These things all measurable. Now, maybe a subjective observation, but those are the measures.
I think, Chris, they need to know they can come to you if we've got an objective that we can't figure out how to measure.
Yeah, it is hard.
that they can go to the HR director and help us figure out a way to measure this objective. And
It-
you can
yeah.
provide them, whether it's the supervisor or the administrative professional that's coming up with this objective.
I can make up I can help you with this, and with the measures. It's really, I find it really hard to think of measures in your own job. You're just too close to the work. And so have somebody come in, explain what you do, and say, oh, well, they'll ask the same stupid question. Well, how do you know if you're doing it or not? Well, this and this and this happens. Okay, well, then that's the measure. It's you just need somebody there to bounce the question off. I can't even do it with my own work. So that's great advice, Beth. All right, good. We're a little ahead of schedule. Goals and objectives should reflect the fundamental priorities, roles, and responsibilities of the position, of course. I mentioned that. Often it's, you don't have to, but it's often real handy to divide up the work into these 4 categories. Technical, or the volume, quality, how overall well they did, the technical knowledge and the skills they have, what customer interaction skills do they need, communication, and what's the teamwork and collaboration skills. Those 4 are pretty handy to do. Okay, good. And before you go on, before you leave, gain agreement on the measures. Because if you're measuring things differently, then you're going to be in trouble. You're both think you're on the same page, but you're not. Just a few more. Now, personal and professional development. You certainly should put these in there. And I just have one comment on that, just the number 1 there. You're welcome and encouraged to have people put in future career goals. Why would the university pay for the development of your future career goals? Anybody? Or maybe not toward their job. Could be unrelated to their job. Is that okay? Why? Because we value people in their development. Period.
Because we care.
The university, because it could be something here.
Yeah, it could be something.
Unrelated to their current job.
Right, and we care about them. Great. Underwater basket weaving. Now, I have some they're not rudimentary, but they're plain tools I could work with you with if you want to continue on, and this might be session 5 of Me, the Effective Supervisor, but it's called, there's an optional development action plan I can get together with you on. And it's more structured development. And we basically, start off with a little gap analysis, but the 3 key points is you identify the specific developmental events. Where are they going to learn and hone this skill a little bit? What are their mentor network? And this doesn't mean 1. They usually have 3 or 4 mentors to develop in this. And you regularly review their development effort. A lot of times you say, okay, well, you're going to go to this conference in October, and hopefully the person makes it there, and then the next spring you review, how'd that conference go, by the way? Did you learn anything? Did you have a good time? Oh, well, maybe we can find a better one next year. Okay, no, that's not development. Good, I can help you with that. Or if you really would like a training on this, we can do that too, let me know. Good. Questions? All right, thanks for your patience, you've been very good. Any questions about the preparation checklist? Feel free to make that your own. Good. All right, we'll finish up today with some practice exercises. Let's start off with this. With your partner, discuss each question for about 5 minutes each. Let's go for a total of 12, so 4 minutes each. What are the objectives of a performance review? If you can cover that in 30 seconds, fine, but spend some time on, if you can zip through 1 and 2, spend some time on number 3. All right? Go ahead. and efficiency, and you'll actually have a lot of joy in your department. Not saying you don't now, but when you have this high trust level, it's just remarkable how great life can be. And what are you out to do? You're knowledgeable about what people are doing, and you're caring and conflict skill. Very good. Now, today, you heard a presentation, and the same presentation is being delivered tomorrow to the cabinet. If you think something should be emphasized more or de-emphasized or whatever, please email me by like noon tomorrow or something so I can have time to adjust it. But it's great that the cabinet is receiving this training as well, because you all report to them in one way or another, and they're going to set a lot of the, they always, I mean, the bosses set the tone and the quality and so forth. So do wish them well. Think good thoughts for the training tomorrow. I expect it'll be received quite well, like you've received it today, and I thank you very much. Very good.